New York. New York, what's up, New York? Listen, we in New York, right? This is hip-hop. This is hip-hop.
Welcome to Crash the Industry, where we dig deep into the minds of the movers and shakers who are igniting change and shaping the future. Today, we're hearing from someone whose mission is rooted in transformation, development, and power of second chances. Joining us today is the chairman and CEO of Redemption Development Corporation, a man who believes when one door closes, another one opens. Rodney has worn many hats as the assistant director of field operations, OSHA training leader, and master of a multi-million-dollar proposal writing for his corporation. But his most impactful work is the Behavioral Resolution Training, the BRT program, a groundbreaking initiative designed to reshape how we tackle behavioral issues in our communities with a 10-week cycle. The BRT program is training students to master communication, anger, control, and peer pressure management skills they often miss growing up. This is more than just another anti-aggression program. It's a complete behavioral transformation tool, and Rodney's dedication doesn't stop there. He's developed a two-phase, 24-week aftercare program that ensures students not only overcome their challenges, but graduate with a renewed sense of purpose and accomplishment. Today, we're talking about how Rodney Skinner and the Redemption Development Corporation are lighting the way for individuals across New York City and beyond. So let's get to it. How you doing, my brother?
I'm good, brother. Nice
Today is like a first for me because, like I just told you, I don't play in the political world. I don't delve into that, but it's so much more to what you do than politics and trying to help the community. So my first question to you is, before I get to the one that I prepared, is what made you want to even help your community?
What the reason that what really motivated me was the things that I was impacted by myself, and being raised by a single parent, which was my mom and my grandmother. The struggles that they had, even helping me growing up, as opposed to my brothers, and growing up in the Lower East Side at that time was pretty difficult. You know what I'm saying? And ended up incarcerated. My first arrest, I was 15 years old. Had COVID weapon. And I learned how to look at things from a different perspective, to see things ahead of time before the problem persisted. I never used drugs. I never got caught up using drugs, but I lived in a neighborhood where I knew about a drug addict at 2 years old. So there was things that I was pre-prepared for as a kid, and growing up and then being able to actually find myself within the trenches of the drug game, being the leader of a youth gang that became a drug gang that was known throughout the Lower East Side and even 5 boroughs. Can't Be Stopped, CBS, I was the leader of that. And, years later, my friends got killed during when I was incarcerated. It was like a result of like 18 deaths, in total. But, the things that we witness and see growing up becomes a cultural problem. And if you see the same things that happened 40 years and 40, 50 years ago still happening now, and they're a little bit more enhanced because of the understanding with technology, we still haven't addressed the core of the problem. And the core of the problem persists of even with kids in school. We have a gang culture right now that's dominating the educational system as well, because kids are recruited at a young age because of peer pressure. So a lot of the negativity has outweighed the positive.
Now that you said that, if you think about it, if our government, and I'm just talking about locally, could not fix something over 50 years and it only got worse, it kind of seems like it's intentional, or it's something that they have to gain from not fixing it.
Well, it's interesting that you made that comment. I was at a fundraiser a couple of years ago with Mayor Everett Adams before he was mayor, and he got on the podium and he stated that he reiterated what industrial poverty is.
Okay.
What industrial poverty is how people make money off people being poor. And one of his agendas was to remove that, which probably now is one of the reasons why he's become a target with certain things. And people don't understand politics. Where we come from, we just vote. You know, we think this person is going to do this and that, but they're surrounded by people that do a variety of other things. So a lot of times the perception of media is what controls the narrative to what people think and see. So one of the things that people have found within the prison system, the criminal justice system, is a business. It's actually become a business. And every 10, 15 years, you have to have an influx of people. I would say maybe 11, 12 years ago, I told one of my guys, Michael, that we was incarcerated. And I says the next influx of criminals are going to be gang culture throughout the United States. They let it go. If you could see within the educational system how gang culture has mastered change. When I say mastered change, it's controlling the environment.
And it seems like that was fueled by lack of education and music.
Very true. But it's not that, you know, you can't say, I can't stand in front of somebody and say, I had 101 years to life in prison. I'm a ghost. I'm not supposed to be here then, right? But it happened. It's a reality.
You was sentenced to 101 years.
Yes, correct. You know, and 3 DAs were fired, and you know they were removed, and I'm still fighting those injustices. If I tell you right now that I'm the only person in New York State that been in prison 3 times, 3 state bids, and each time my lawyers was indicted and went to prison, nobody would believe me.
I looked that up. I only seen one of them, so the other 2 were like, it just looked like they resigned.
They did. They all did resign.
I Googled that. Like, after you sent me the information, I said, I can't go out there and not really know what's going on. So I Googled it, and I seen 2 of them for sure resign.
Because they haven't set up a structure where we can go after the system. So what happens is they get slaps on the wrist. If we do something wrong, we're going to go to prison.
For a long time.
We're going to get persecuted. So understanding what I did by my incarceration, besides developing massive programs and different type of programs and businesses, I studied the system. So to understand the situation that I was in, it's ironic my name is a namesake of the invisible man, Rodney Skinner, right? So people think I'm invisible somewhat, but I'm not. I'm here, I'm in the flesh. So those programs like BRT could be implemented in so many different things because it teaches self-evaluation. If you can self-evaluate what's wrong and look at you and reflect and look at a camera and see how you look and you're perceived, then you'll start understanding how people are going to see you. I've created proposals for the city. I have a MTA NYCHA apprenticeship painting training employment program, which would create 10,000 jobs. The city, the state don't have to put up a dime. It's all federally funded. People don't understand that the union is supposed to be 55% minorities. Why that's not being advertised? We cried about nepotism for years that nobody was getting an opportunity. You yourself worked in the field of construction.
I'm a heavy union.
So you know and you understand. So if we don't start showing the younger generation a direction, and part of that proposal has a one-day anti-aggression program, domestic violence, prevention for gun violence and conflict resolution, you have to educate people. When I was incarcerated, there was a program they had in Fishkill and another facility called the Youth Assistance Program. And their model was the opposite of scared straight. We rather educate than intimidate. We need that model in the streets, in society. I developed a proposal for the former correction commissioner, Louis Molina, to get his job as the first Latino corrections commissioner. Me and my team had a proposal that we would add a $24 million contract for 4 years. We didn't get that contract. That's one of the reasons why he had to resign. But the bottom line is,
I looked into that.
We had several ways to refix Rikers Island. Who could understand how to fix a problem in the system but the people that was there? We're products of the environment. We're products of the system. It's not like you can't fix Rikers Island. You can fix Rikers Island. You know, there's several ways to fix things that are broken. But if you keep saying it's broken and you don't have a way of fixing it, like building 4 jails in New York City at $10.5 million is not conducive.
I don't think it's conducive with what we really need.
It's not. You could have renovated 3 of those jails and built a new one at a couple of $100 million and took $3.8 billion and built 50 buildings outside of the city and tapped in on your shelter system before the migrants even came.
Being that you said that, right? You've been involved in various sectors for development to safety training and behavior modification. What inspired you to start the behavioral resolution training, being that you just touched it a little bit? So what really caused that?
When my second incarceration, there was a superintendent, I'll never forget, a gentleman, African-American, called D. Berry. He was out of Queens, and he asked me, he says, "Are you related to the Skinner family from Queens?" And I laughed, because I am. And we have family even in Baltimore that's very deep into politics. We have several family members that's into politics. But what inspired me was he said, take this ART program, aggression replacement training, and I'm going to make sure you get granted work release. And he did. It was Albany that denied me at that time. And my counselor, I'll never forget, her name was Miss Richardson. She says, you got denied because you're viewed as a sophisticated criminal. I said, sophisticated criminal? If I was so sophisticated, why would I be incarcerated? She said, because you don't use drugs. You have no dependence. You don't have anything that caused you to be incarcerated. I said, well, something caused me to be incarcerated for me to be in prison. She said, well, people are viewed differently when you come through the system. You work on statistics. I said, that's very interesting. So that in itself, when I started teaching the program, I was able to garner the attention of the individuals that were students to want to teach the program. So when I was going to get released, some few months after, a year after, whatever, the civilian was like, no, I'm glad you're going home, but I hate to see you go. He says, because you brought something different to the table. You made people want to change.
Absolutely. And
that inspired me to understand it. So I would take a piece of paper and I would write down something. And I would write on 5 pieces of paper and I would spread it out through the classroom of 25 individuals. And when you go through the whole room, nobody would say the same thing.
I was going to point out the fact that when you backtrack to what you said, when they tried to break it down to a statistic things and they said you're sophisticated, criminal, the problem is they don't account for our environment that we're brought up in and how it develops us and how it matures us in a different way from people who are not brought up in that environment. Like, not everybody from the ghetto or the hood that they call it uses drugs. You understand? So when you're not using drugs and you still choose to do that or partake in their lifestyle, it's because it's a necessity. And they don't understand that they force us into that lifestyle sometimes. I'm not talking about the person that you were speaking to at the moment, but sometimes the system around us forces us to live a lifestyle. I'm a product of it myself. My wife will see my friends and how my friends come around, they tell her crazy stories about me. And I'll be like, I'm not that person because I'm a lovable husband and I'm a father now, but my environment shaped me to be something totally different at that time. And I don't use drugs. I don't partake in that. So now I'm listening to you say that. They expect us to be statistics from where we're from.
We've become statistics. We have if you look back 60 years ago and you look at the speeches that Malcolm X would make, and you would say, that sounds like now. And it's funny, when I got convicted, it was on the anniversary of his death. When I got sentenced, it was the same day John Gotti got sentenced. It was ironic.
That was on the same day?
The same day. And the funny thing is that what we have subjected ourselves to as a people is that our leadership is so far removed from what's needed. Because what happens with the leadership, you get great jobs, you get great money. You're so far removed now because you stepped a step above where you come from in your community, and you only come back if you have to come back. If you don't have to come back, you don't come back. But the bottom line is that every day that we don't correct the problem is somebody's child is getting killed or going to prison or being manipulated by, what we think is the right thing is not. It's become a problem that during COVID, when I was a security consultant, we actually trained almost 400 young male, black and Spanish females to become security guards. And like 120 of them was within gang culture. And the shelters that we were managing, supervising, we didn't have one assault because one of the things we indoctrinated was also conflict resolution. So we showed them, you're no different from each other. You come from the same place. But what we've allowed in this society, especially in this city, is we've allowed New York City housing, the shelter system, and Rikers Island to be one of the same, the revolving door. If you check the statistics, everybody's going through that cycle. It's not getting better, it's gotten worse. But now we have migrants, so it's even worse because they're bringing a criminal element as well. However, you know, that's a situation, that's a political situation that they didn't address the proper way. So we have a mayor that is set up to fix problems that he already inherited problems with deputy mayors and commissioners that doing things that they shouldn't do. So now he's faced with the situation of now an indictment. But the truth of the matter is when you run elections and campaigns, you don't know what the people are doing that's running those campaigns. Straw donors, that's been going on for decades. He's not the only elected official that's been subjected to that. If you look at the narrative, you have a circumstantial case where somebody's saying that this mayor said this and he said that, but prior to that, you said he didn't. So overall, I'm not saying I'm defending him. I'm defending the way the law is supposed to work.
Are you talking about Eric Adams right now?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm saying the way the law is supposed to work. The law is supposed to work where it's a fair process. And when you want to get rid of somebody, that's what you do.
You publicize it.
Yeah. So look at me. I've been incarcerated 3 times illegally. And the people, they still act like it didn't happen. There's even no, I've been, 1983 a case, my lawyer was indicted. 1997, my lawyer was indicted. There's no files, there's no records. How you have a conviction and there's no records? But this is the system that we have to live up to.
Well, you're in a system of paper and not electronics. So you come from a system where they could brush things under the rug. I remember when they were doing something called case stacking, where they would take people's crimes out of other people's cases, and if they didn't like you, they would put it
Inside your case.
Inside your case. And then if they really didn't like you, they will go to whatever prison you was in, find somebody who could talk to you. And you remember when they started the case hopping, when people were like, oh yeah, I know this person, he did this, I could be a cooperator.
And now that person's a witness against you.
Now he's a witness against you, and he only spoke to you a few times. So like your time was way worse than it is now as far as paperwork.
I've experienced somebody wearing a wire on me in prison twice. I was just aware, you know, with the questions that was being asked, you know, so I was mindful of it. You know, it's just like, even with programs, like the former police commissioner, Eddie Caban, I gave him a proposal for, to create the Explore program in every New York City school, which would give these kids an opportunity to do something positive. And when I was growing up, you had a actually armed NYPD officer in every school. You can reinstate all that. They'll say, we don't have the money. You do have the money. If you use the federal money that's already allocated for these programs as pre-apprenticeship or apprenticeship.
If they use the money the correct way instead of just shipping it off to other countries.
Exactly. And then you have like a variety of ways to correct things that it's already, there's a means to an end. Mm-hmm. It's just if the right people take the time to really ascertain how to fix the problem. It's just like every New York City housing project. You've allowed the biggest low-income housing system to be a meal ticket for other people, but not the people that live there. You can gate every New York City housing project.
And they're also trying to privatize some of them.
They've done that. They've sold portions of it. It's not conducive to the city because it's low income. But if you take away that you spend $2 billion a year on repeated repairs, that's $2 billion you can use somewhere else. If you gated them, you won't have the violence. You have a NYPD security guard bureau, which I introduced to the former police commissioner. He actually liked it, you know.
So let's hold on that note. We're going to come back to that after a break. Let's take a quick break. Let's get some water, and we come right back to that, and we talk about the NYCHA and the privatizing of it and the things that could help and develop it, and we get into the BRT program a little more.
Absolutely.
We left off on the NYCHA conversation, but before that, you said something that kind of intrigued me, that you train a certain amount of women, and you had them in a shelter, and there were very few altercations and anything. So the question I wanted to ask you when you said that is, you emphasize your program on anger control and peer pressure management as key elements of BRT. Can you share a success story where the program significantly impacted someone's life or their behavior, other than the one?
Well, several individuals that when I first started teaching the program, you know, you give them also understanding in how to relate in society and how to self-reflect, even in business. When you show people what they look like, they have an understanding, so they can role play certain scenarios before they actually play out. You know, a few guys, like even when I was inside, there was a kid, Andre Johnson. He ended up becoming like one of the main guys in music for the show Empire. Okay. You know, so like there's several individuals, kids that I know that I trained as facilitators, and they've become very successful in different nonprofits as well, because you give a person an understanding on how to pretty much teach themselves. Because if you can act out something, you could prevent something happening.
You could pretty much see what's going to happen.
Right. So like with Rikers Island, part of the plan that we had was also restructuring of the visiting process, which is still outdated. If you enhance the visiting process and you change it into 3 sections where there's 3-hour visits. So how you say, how are you going to get 3-hour visits? Still 1-hour visit. It takes you almost 3 hours to get in. Still, it's been like that since the 80s. So now if you take that and you take in an individual, and that's a city jail, not like a state or federal prison, and you mandate that program. So how do you mandate that program? You mandate the program. Well, you're going to get a 3-hour visit. If you don't take the program, you don't get a 1-hour visit. So what about the individuals that don't get visits? You have a special recreational area where they can have additional rec. Because one of the problems in Rikers Island is idle time. Idle time is the devil's workshop. So if you don't have nothing to cater to those minds, what do you think is going to happen? They're in there for violent behavior most of the time anyway. So if you change the whole structure of a mental situation, now if you have that program, and one of the things when I did the presentations, there was like, well, how can we put a group of people that they're enemies on this side, they're enemies on that side, how can we put in a room? We set up and designed with my technician, Mike Bernard, we designed where there was plexiglass divided sections and a clear wall with cameras and all that they can role play with each other, set it up their skills the day before, and the mental health clinician will review their behavior, which will be forwarded to the court, to the judge, to the DA. And when you do that, you have a better understanding of the individual after that on a one-on-one, how they came into that situation. Because a lot of these situations are just through peer pressure. So implementing a program that gives somebody to self-evaluate helps you ascertain what brought them to that situation.
Would that process be considered something like a tracking program, though?
Yes, it's somewhat tracking, because now you have a better understanding of why this individual committed this crime or why they did what they did. The situation where the young lady got and the young kid got killed from kidnapped from the lower side, the Asian young lady and the Hispanic brother, Jesse Perilla and Nikki Harm. Those are my niece's friends. I seen this kid grow up in my mother's building. They got shot and burned in the car. This is all gang culture. You know, these crimes are heinous. You know, heinous crimes. So where's the regard for human life?
Right now, when you listen to these young kids talk, if you really pay attention, it's like they're playing a video game. Or they're talking about, I'm going on a mission. This is not a game, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're taking someone's life and they don't realize the repercussions of their actions. And they don't have big homies saying, yo, this is what we really need to be doing. We should know. They got the big homie saying, yo, go do that drill. So I think we need to hold accountable more of the older, the men.
That's correct. I've talked to a lot of the leadership because I was incarcerated with a lot of them. And one of the things was that, but bro, we don't have nothing to give. Meaning, if we could give them something, we'll follow that. And that makes a lot of sense because, like I said, when I was doing security consulting, we had like 120 individuals that was gang culture. Some of them never even had a job. They wanted to work. It's not that people don't want to do certain things, but you can't come out, you did 25 years in prison, you're going to say, well, don't do this, don't do that, because you're going to end up like me. They're going to look at you and say, well, you got caught.
I didn't get caught.
They're going to look at you, got caught. You got young kids that look forward to somebody pour a Hennessy on the sidewalk and burning candles because they got killed, they got caught up, where a lot of them have lost a sense of direction and a regard for human life.
There's no morality either.
Especially after COVID. A lot of people got caught up, seeing death like nothing. I had COVID and pneumonia and almost passed away from it. So I know I was a rude awakening. If understand, I've lost friends, that perished because of this. We have to start really looking at what is the problem. And the problem in itself, we have a political structure that I believe that we have people that are in leadership positions, but they're not leaders. They're just getting a check and going with the norm. Because if I could give you 4, 5, 6 different proposals and nobody's implemented it, but then I've given you proposals where the former commissioner of Rikers Island implemented the crisis intervention teams where every correction officer gets trained in mental health. That was a proposal that I created.
What goes into that? What goes into creating a proposal? I meant to ask you that earlier. What the manpower, the time, the thought process? Do you have clinicians? Do you have doctors? Do you have psychologists? What goes into creating a proposal like you did with the crisis intervention?
Well, part of that is, you talk to people that are professionals within those areas, and if they're consultants or serve a certain role, you ascertain the information and you convey the information that works because it comes from an expert testimony of how to address certain things. Because people, when they understand what a behavioral problem is, they can understand how to address it and submit something that gives that person like a blueprint of understanding, And if you could give that to somebody, they'll cater to you, to your attention and what you say, and when you convey to them. People don't know how to relate to people, You can't dictate to someone. You have to show them, If you listen, like God has given us 2 eyes and 2 ears and 1 mouth, to see more, hear more, and say less at times. So what we have to do as a people is start understanding that we can't play the political game to fix a cultural problem. So within economic development...
Can you say that one more time for me?
We can't play the political game to fix an economic problem.
That's something that's going on right now.
And one of the things, we got a lot of rappers, we have a lot of businessmen, Black and Latino, that become successful that we haven't had in 40, 50, 60 years ago. We didn't have all these influential people. And what are we faced with right now? The Didy crisis, the mayor crisis. They criticize the mayor for giving them the key to the city. But all these black celebrities now are all subjected to now what? Scrutiny.
But that's because we don't have unity.
That is the biggest problem.
If all of those powers that be from our community, whether the black athletes, the rappers, the singers, the actors, if they all came together and sat with someone like you or mine who said, hey, I'm a product of this, I have these things we can implement, I need backing.
It's funny that you say that, because I've talked to Carmelo Anthony, I've talked to Lamar Odom, I've talked to Big Baby, Glenn Davis, who's now incarcerated. I've talked to rappers, Kid from Kid and Play, Mr. Cheeks, new rappers, Joel Santana, a friend of my son's, Mano, Jim Jones. I said, you realize we don't have a civil rights movement anymore? So entertainment...
I didn't even want to get into what I was about to say. Go ahead, yeah.
Entertainment and music and that, you're the new voice, because that's what people are following.
It's not the new voice. They're the new influence. Do you realize how much power that they have?
They are the new voice.
They're the new voice.
But
they
haven't stepped up to be that voice. The stage is there, but what you said is the most important element.
Lack of unity.
Lack of unity and lack of understanding. And people have this, well, I made mine, you got to get yours the way I got mine. No. You got white America and you have corporate America that a lot of people that work for them, they don't even like. But they still control franchise businesses. What franchise businesses do we have? We don't. But every community that we go to, most bodegas that was run by Puerto Ricans and Dominicans now run by people from the Middle East. How is it that they get all these stores? When I was also involved with working with a lending company to get SBA loans, you got people that I've seen come from the Middle East get a $350,000 loan. It's $500,000. They walk away with $350,000, and then they'll take $100,000 and buy 10 C corps and get $3.5 million and open up 10 more delis.
Also, there's another thing a lot of people don't know, because in my time as a construction worker, I actually worked at the UN. So across the street from the UN, if you look, there's like little like embassies, I think they are.
From different countries.
So I was working on one of those buildings and I was talking to a guy and he was like looking at all of us black construction workers. And you know what he says to me out of the blue? You know, it's a shame you guys don't stick together and you guys don't have a real home. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, when my people come to this country, they come to the embassy. And he's talking about the Middle Eastern. He said, they come to this country, they come here, we open a bank account for them, and we put $50,000 to $100,000 in the bank account, and we teach them to let them sit, and then what they do is they take that money, they go get a loan at an American bank, and then they open up gas stations and 7-Elevens, or not even stereotypical. He said this to me. They open up gas stations, 7-Elevens, and mini marts and quickie marts. And he said, we give them a leg up because we want our people to come here and be successful.
And they build their credit though.
And it's being done from their consulate, right? That's what it's called?
The consulate.
Yeah, so.
Because what they do is they before their people come over, they prepare them. If you look at the subways.
Subways is another franchise.
Even the
Dunkin'
Department of
Donuts.
Traffic. Majority of people that giving out tickets not even from New York City. They're coming from other countries.
Mm-hmm.
So people, as a culture, we've been reconditioned. My generations before that found themselves incarcerated, and the next generations had to fend for themselves. But we've become comfortable with the things that, like public assistance and food stamps. Okay, if you have to get that, you have to get that. That's understandable.
But don't get comfortable.
Right. So what they did was found a way to make it comfortable to do nothing. So we're not go-getters. We're not going out there getting it. We have other people coming from, not even from this country, that are doing better than us. We are just consumers. We just feed the businesses. If you go to these stores and look, before COVID, a honey bun was 50 cents. It's $2 now. $2. COVID, a can of Lysol was $9. So all these factories and warehouses emptied out. They just walked away. How many billionaires had COVID?
I don't know no billionaires. So. I know one billionaire, actually. So
how many billionaires had COVID, right? So if you're rich, you didn't get sick?
I got a question to ask you. So now you do all of these great proposals and everything and manpower, talking to people. When you start doing proposals, I remember you mentioned one proposal was like almost $1 trillion. That I read through your stuff. Don't think I didn't read through it. I read through it because I wanted to come in this conversation knowing something. And I learned a lot. But when you are dealing with proposals, city government, that type of money breeds corruption.
Absolutely.
So when you're dealing with those proposals, did you see or were you given backlash because certain people's pockets weren't getting lined?
Well, it depends. You know, I never put myself in a position to where anybody could just even come at me with anything. You know, I don't give nobody that kind of opportunity. The proposal you're talking about is a shooter barricade system. It's done by a gentleman named Mike Pursuti, very big in construction safety. And we piggybacked that project and enhanced it. It's specialized doors. I think they're bulletproof doors. They have a code. It's for the schools and colleges to stop mass shootings. What I did with my team is we enhanced it and using, from being incarcerated, a complete lockdown system where everything is pretty much cosmetic, but you won't be able to get into school and get a weapon and shoot anybody. And you would say, well, how is it that you could send your kid to a college on a whole nother state, a whole nother country, and they could be a victim to a mass shooter, but your kid could go to jail and prison and get an education, don't have to worry about getting shot. So we living in a double standard because your educational system should be well protected. So that project on a minimum is like $1.25 million, trillion, construction costs alone. So you have the unions that's going to start to embrace it. I think actually in Texas is going to be the first state. And one of the other projects that we proposed that we did is a $500 billion prison reform urban renewal project where you create these 3 specialized work release facilities. One is for Braille and large print. The other is for computer repair. And I think the other one's for asbestos and telemarketing. So now, one of the problems that we have in America, we always stay at 2 million above. in our prison system and jail system, and there's always an issue about recidivism. So how do you expect somebody to come out in society and just come back and deal with a culture shock? If you could prepare somebody a year before they come out and they make a minimum wage, by the time they get out in that year, they'll have $15,000, $20,000 in the account, somewhere to live, and a suitable job.
Well, like you said, they're being re-entered into civilization, being like a civilian. Even the military has to be reconditioned.
Yes, exactly.
So if you have someone in a population of all criminals, before you send them back in to civilian life, they should go to a place where they can be reconditioned. Like,
that's excellent. That reflecting back on BRT, you mentioned the 24-week aftercare.
Yes.
Now people relapse off drugs. Why can't they relapse off violence? We don't have aftercares for violence. We just wait till somebody reoffends and then they snap. You got television shows where they show somebody snapped, right? So if you give somebody that platform, not these mediocre programs that you sit in the room and you just have a group session, realistic programs where people can convey what they feel and what they're going through. So if you recondition people the proper way, you'll have less people reoffending. So you want to keep a revolving door, because basically that's what it is, because you're not addressing the core of the problem. You're putting Band-Aids on it. You can't put Band-Aids on a major cut.
You cannot. So if there's something that you have going on right now that you want to tell the people to look into, or something you want to talk about, we have a few minutes to really close out. So I'm definitely going to bring you back. There's so much we can talk about. What is it that you want to say to the people to get out about your story, what's going on, what you got going on in these programs?
One of the things that I'm saying, like, for the people is to really start looking at the hardcore facts of things. Even with the mayor right now, the situation, I'm going to give him these proposals again, and I'm going to give him an opportunity, because he says he's set on fixing the problems. If you're going to fix the problems, you can't talk about fixing the problems. You got to have real-time solutions. And real-time solutions, you can have them if you implement them. You take one step at a time and you start implementing these different varieties of programs. And one of the key things is employment. And I've said this, I've been on the news, I've been in the newspaper. Employment is a factor. People want to make money, they want to survive. So if you got a kid selling weed on the corner, and he's making $500 a week, why not let him get a job making $1,500 to $2,000 a week with benefits, taking care of his little child or his girlfriend or his future wife or wife or whatever.
Sneaker habit, whatever it is that makes him want to do that.
So we need to introduce these opportunities and stop saying, oh, these kids are bad. No, let's stop pointing fingers. And let's have solutions. Mm-hmm. Solutions to problems is what you implement as leadership. That's what leadership is. Leadership is finding a way to lead and show people a direction, not feeding your pockets and getting rich and forgetting everybody. And when it comes time for a vote, you show your face in the neighborhood. That's not what's going to fix the problems. And we could say that 100 to 200, 300, 400, 500 times. If we don't address what the core of the problem is by implementing the change, then we find ourselves the people that's going to be in position that's going to become targets. I don't know what the situation is even in City Hall, other than people that I do know. But I know when people start coming at you, it's a reason. But if you can be subjected to being wrongfully persecuted, I went to prison 3 times and I could say that I'm innocent. I could prove it, but don't change the fact that I spent 25 years of my life in prison. It don't change the fact that I had 101 years to life. If I didn't have an understanding of the law, I would still be in there.
Basically what he's saying is we need to fix the problem at the top before we start trying to fix it from the bottom. And I want to say, I haven't delved deep into all the politics of what's going on right now, but house needs to be clean.
Correct.
And people need to be held accountable, and the right people need to be held accountable, not the people behind the scene making moves. So I want to say this has been a lot of information. I really appreciate you for coming and giving me that information.
Thank you for having me.
We got to do a part 2 because I know it's a lot more we didn't get to talk about.
Definitely.
That we spoke about briefly, but like I
Yes.
said to you, I wanted you to talk about all the positives
Yes,
before anything else, because, people control media and they always try and make you look like you're crazy or you don't know what you're talking about. And I said, that's not what we do here. We focus on the positives. And being that you write proposals, I want to ask you if you could help us write some proposals, and we could push to get funding for what we're doing.
Absolutely. And, you know, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because one of the things is addressing the positive before you address the negative. And one of the things, the platform, we need exposure of what's wrong so we correct it. We can correct it. And sometimes people have to be symbolized as an example to show I'm a symbol of what the problem is. I'm a product of the environment. But I'm still sitting here implementing change, and I've been targeted in certain situations, which we'll get into the next time that we talk, as opposed to trying to stop me from the things that I'm doing. They're not going to stop me from doing what I'm doing, so I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing. And I appreciate you having me, because your platform is a great platform, and I think we need to have more, you know, understanding and people understanding that there's a place to go, that you can put this out.
If they continue to help fund community platforms, we will have this for a long time to come. And with that being said, we do need some funding to keep things going like this, to keep platforms going like this. And I'm going to definitely reach out to my brother Rodney Skinner to work on these things. So we'll be back after this, and we'll get into the next part of the segment. I appreciate you, brother. I really do.
Likewise.
Definitely. Welcome back to Crash the Industry. Now, our next guest was born and raised in Brooklyn, Bedford-Stuyvesant, my home, and Williamsburg. Julio Didy, formerly known as Roach, has been captivating listeners since high school with his rapid-fire flow and storytelling. From his local anthems like Williamsburg Anthem to socially charged tracks like America, Didy's ability to paint vivid pictures through his music set him apart in 2017. He rebranded, stepping into a more mature role as a father and husband. To further his brand, he started his own showcases called Look Up to Who, and I personally got to witness his raw talent in 2023 at the Dash Fire concert. Now, with modern flows and timeless narratives in his songs like It's Fine and Medicine, Didy is on a mission to become a household name in hip-hop culture, and I'm here to help him out. What's good, my brother? How you doing?
Brother?
How's everything?
Blessed.
So, you know, I've known you for a long time, but I didn't know you rapped. So I didn't know if you, like, kept it hidden, you was quiet about it, or you just wasn't on the same scene as me. But when did you start rapping?
Probably around high school. I was probably like 15 years old. When I got to Harry Van Arsdale High School, that's when I started rapping.
I was going to ask if you went to HV.
Yeah.
I went to Bertram, so that's probably why I didn't run into you. I was in Bertram.
Bertram. What was it? There's another school that was around there that there was conflict all the time with Harry Van Arsdale and Automotive.
Okay.
Oh,
those were the times.
Days, man. Those are the times.
So, like, you were rapping. When did you start doing, like, showcases and taking it serious?
Showcases came a little later. I was a part of an organization called Night Shift Entertainment for about 5 or 6 years. You know, the gentleman who sings a lot of the background music on my tracks, I met him there. My wife's sister, I met my wife through the same company. So I didn't really start doing shows until I got with them. But I was always a natural at just writing music. Like a lot of people in the neighborhood could rap, but I think I wrote great songs.
Okay.
Could I say? I wouldn't say I'm the best rapper, but I just write really, really good songs.
No, I see your songs seem a little more composed. When did you really start taking it serious and recording?
I've been recording from the beginning. When I was in Harry Van Arsdale, there was another gentleman who went to the school. His name was Julio as well. Dominican cat, man. He used to live in Lindsay Park. So I used to shoot to his crib after school, and he had the G4 at the time. I think it was the G4, the Apple computer. He had a nice little keyboard, a microphone. He had a nice little setup there, and he actually knew what he was doing. So when I first started cutting records, it was in his bedroom. You know, it was 3 of us up there sweating and writing 1,000 raps and just rapping for the entire day, man. It was that's when I first started recording.
So you
music.
come from that same era pretty much as me, where we were outside rapping on the corner, battling. Like, how do you feel the culture has shifted from then to now?
I think the competitive edge is probably not as intense now as it was then.
Yeah,
You still get the competitive edge with the Drake and Kendrick battle, but
too many people still buddy.
Yeah, that's what it. Back then it wasn't. If you was nice, if I went outside and I was the best person on my block, I lived on block 2. You know Williamsburg. I lived on block 2. If I was the best person on block 2 and they told me that somebody was the best on block 3, we was over on block 3 to go check it.
Yeah, I battled so many people. So like, locally, who was it that you battled locally that I probably would know?
Scotty, Scotty Optimo.
Okay.
That's how we actually met, through a mutual friend. My man Black used to take me everywhere, battling. Yo, we gonna go to block 4. We gonna go to the south side. It's a dude on block 1, one smoke. So one day he brought me to Scotty, and Scotty was Scotty's actually nice, man. It's like one of my favorite artists to this day. Shout out to Scotty Optimo, man. One of my favorite artists to this day. There's a lot of people from Williamsburg who are like super nice. Gage is super nice. A1 is super nice. Curtis, I don't know what the stage name is, but my man Kurt is nice. There's a bunch of people that are just like remarkable talents.
I just recently spoke to Money Grams, and he gave us from the South Side like one of the songs of a decade with Crack. I'm the reason why I would. So I actually got that song on my phone. He sent it to me a couple weeks ago or whatever.
Fire.
So like Williamsburg did put out a lot of dope artists. You also got, you said Gage. Berg is making a comeback. I'm proud to see that he's sobered up and he's living the sober life. That's a great thing to see. He's doing his thing. So who influenced you to really get into music?
I started listening to hip-hop late. By the time I started listening to hip-hop, Biggie was already dead. When I grew up, I would listen to whatever my sister listened to. So my sister, she's a girl. She listened to R&B all day. I'm like an R&B encyclopedia. Okay. Any of that early 90s R&B, that's what I grew up on. But when I moved to Williamsburg, I met a friend named Louis, and he actually put me on the hip-hop. I think Nas was the first person he showed me. And from there was once I heard Nas and what he does with words, I was in love. Those records inspired me to actually start writing music.
So like right now, who would you say kind of influenced you or inspires you to keep going? Because being an artist, a lot of people don't realize it could be rough and daunting, and you're like, you know what, I don't think I want to do this no more. Yeah. Because you will turn around and some new kid came out of nowhere and he's hot, and you're like, I'm out here working hard. So what inspires you to keep going forward?
All the artists out there, the number one thing you could do for yourself is learn how to tap into your inspiration. I just know how to tap into inspiration, being around certain people, listening to certain beats, just riding the train. I write a lot of music riding the train. I'm in my everyday work, going to work and coming home on a train and just looking at the people on the train, all commuting, and they all have their own lives. It inspires me so I just know how to tap into certain inspirations. Being in the studio, sometimes I can be in the studio alone and just let a couple beats play and get inspired. I just know how to tap into it. I can't quite explain it, but I just know
it's
how
that
to tap
feeling.
into it. Yeah.
It's that same feeling I get. Like, I retired and I'm doing the management, running a record label thing, but I still catch myself in the shower rapping. Like, and my wife, what are you doing in there? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, when you're an artist, that part of you never disappears. It never goes away. So when you tap into that, what do you hope like the outcome is? Or do you not have a hope for outcome? You just like to create?
At one point, I looked at it from a business aspect where I wanted to make money from my music. When you begin to do that, it starts to feel like work. You know what I'm saying? You feel like you have to do this or you have to do that, or I can't dress like this because people are gonna look at me like this, or it's too much. Now I'm at the point in my career where I just make the music because I enjoy making the music and I get a better product that way, and whatever comes with it would come with it. So I'm not opposed to generating revenue off of the music, but it's not. I just put the music out with no expectations of what it's gonna do. I don't expect to get a certain amount of likes on my social media. I don't expect to get a bunch of views. There's no expectation. I put it out into the universe, and whatever it does, that's what it does.
I think free music is the best way to go. I have a quick question for you. What was your thought process when you decided to include your wife into your music? because I seen her perform with you. I seen her music videos with you.
Yes.
Just give me that rundown real quick.
So when I started to rebrand, I wanted a more mature image. So nothing sells more than authenticity. I'm older, I'm a father, I'm a husband. So why not highlight these attributes through my music? So, and they inspire me to do music. A lot of the inspiration that I get, it comes from them. Different, watching my son grow up, or taking him to school for the first day, or watching my oldest daughter go to college. She goes to St. John's University. She's on the varsity cheer team.
Okay.
Shout out to Nini. Things like that inspire me. So it's easy to write about those things because I'm not making anything up.
You're living
I'm
it.
literally just living it. And
You're absolutely living it.
yes.
So I want you to give a shout out, give everybody your Instagram, and let's get into your performance.
Let's get it. My name is Didy. I want to give a shout out to my family at home, my wife, Nikki Hextall, my son, Amir Hextall Didy, my other son, T'Challa Hextall Didy, my daughter, Heaven, my other daughter, Nyasha, my father, my sister. You know, I love everybody. Hey, what up? Supposed to be here.
Don't forget them to give them where they can reach you at.
Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram, J_DIDY_ and the number 1. That is J_Diddy_1 on Instagram.
Before I let this go, I have to address the elephant in the room. You have like the second most infamous name in the industry right now. How are you dealing with what's going on with Diddy and your name?
It used to be good. I used to get, no, for real. People used to give me free. I was in North Carolina one time and I went to a McDonald's, and I don't know why the conversation came up about my name, but she was like, "Oh, your name's Diddy?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's my uncle." She started giving me free French fries. It used to be a privilege. Now I'm to the point, I'm a realist. If I live in my uncomfortability. I'm an awkward person.
And it's only been a month.
As
As soon as you called me yesterday, what I said, yo, you called me and I said your name
I
in the
know.
bottle of baby oil, you fell out my pocket.
Look.
Bro.
I make jokes about it all the time because it's me, it's my life. I have to kind of learn how to live in that uncomfortability. I have to learn to live uncomfortable.
That's going to keep taking you further, my brother. Appreciate you.
you, man.
Let's get to that
Appreciate you.
performance. With no further ado, not only did he crash the industry, but my brother J. Diddy about to crash the stage. Let's go.
Let's get it. This joint right here is called Flowers. Check it out. Getting high, feeling low, say goodbye in the show. They gon' lie and they post knowing they ain't never kick it with the bro. They ain't never buy a ticket to a show. They ain't sitting politicking with your folk. They ain't wanna lend a cent when you was broke. All of a sudden you the shit, you the goat. You can miss me with the all the shit you talking never goes. Talking circles like a merry-go-round. If you didn't, now you know. Funeral looking like a ghost town. Everybody wanna give a toast now. Everybody wanna leave a rose now. Give you flowers and they tonight. I just might sacrifice my life. Goodbye. Don't stand there and cry. Tonight I'll sacrifice my life. Goodbye. Don't stand there and cry. Don't cry, don't cry, don't stand there and cry. Don't cry, nah, don't cry. Don't stand there and shed a tear. Heaven stairs, getting close, better here, purified, ever clear. No distress, no despair, no more fear. Wipe away the tear, flesh only a vessel spared. Always here, pay attention, you can feel it in the air. Listen, you can hear the whispers in the air. Feel the wind through the bristles of your hair. Say a little prayer for you lay your head. Thanking the creator for your breaking bread. Hopefully you got another day ahead. Don't be taking long to formulate a plan. Make a man of the boy you play the sand. Knowing praying on the day you're dead, they can stand there, flowers in tonight. I just might sacrifice my life. Goodbye. Don't stand there and cry. Tonight I'll sacrifice my life. Goodbye. Don't stand there and cry. Don't cry. Don't cry. Don't stand there and cry. Don't cry. Nah, don't cry. Don't stand there and cry. That was Flowers. Fade me out, fade me out, fade me out. Yeah.
Stand there and cry. Fade it out, fade it out. I'ma just let the beat run. So we start. Talk. This joint right here is called Relax. I hold this song very dear to my heart because my daughter's singing at the end of it with me. Sometimes I'll be in the studio, I'll be in the zone. This one particular day, I decided to have her sing at the end of the track with me. Check it out. Let's go.
Little in the cup with a raw cone crush. You can let it burn slow, cause it ain't no rush. Blunt there, don't spit, cause it ain't no guts. I ain't trying to squeeze 7 whole grams in it. 150 for the zippy and it only goes up. That gelato getting mixy all up with the brunt. Pass the dutchie in the left hand of your bread. Drink, puff, puff, nigga passing you in the session. Heading in the clouds, blowing on loud. This shit is death. How did that sound? Medical, miracle, bitch, you get it from the gram. You can call a nigga Snoop, I'm breaking up a pound. Yeah, nigga in the zone, yeah, niggas on it now. Yeah, anywhere I go, niggas know I burn it down. Little this, little that, like it's going out of style. 100 clips in the jar like a nigga running out. Relax. 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 Nigga roll something, smoke something, hold relax. 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 Relax, dog, it ain't that serious. Smoking the dead way, I'm just delirious. Talk to myself aloud, I'm a soliloquist. Feeling it, drifting away. A split of Philly with the tip of a blade. Dutch master wishes again. You know the purpose, it all service the same. Protective service, how it take me away. And about to be as high as a plane in the skies. I'm a fly because gravity lied to you. Breaking up weed on a ready to die cover. This product is what I'm a product of. I never been in a designer drug. That chronic is known to bring out the love. My neighbors are known to call up the fuzz. That aroma, they didn't know what it was. We just started smoking on a little this, on a little that. Go get you a pack, go get in your bag, little. Go get in your bag, go get you a pack, little. Relax. 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 Relax, dog, it ain't that serious. That's my little bird right there in the back. Relax.
Relax, nigga roll something, smoke something. Relax. 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 Relax, dog, it ain't that serious. My name's Didy. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for everybody for having me. Thank you, Shanti, for having me. Shout out to That's Fire Entertainment, Crash the Industry. This shit was amazing. Pardon my language. Let's keep going.
You're not doing the next song?
Oh, no, there was just two songs.
Yo, appreciate you, my brother.
Appreciate you for having me, my brother.
That's another episode, Crash the Industry, Didy. Shout out to Rodney Skinner. We got a lot of work ahead of us. Come on over here, my brother. Appreciate having you.
Likewise.
Appreciate having you. Didy, you got to lock in with him. He probably help us all get some funding. You know what I'm saying?
Right before I leave.
Crash the Industry, y'all. You good?
Yeah.
I thought you had another song.
Nah, it was just those two. What I had for you in that one file was long. It was a good